So it does feel like a while since I've spoken about AEW, and in that time it looks like the everything is burning. The whole promotion is on fire. What's going on? Hello and welcome to FTTR, I am Hugh McQuaid, and today we're talking about AEW Dynasty. In particular, we are asking the question, was the ending that bad? That's right, that seems to be all everyone is talking about AEW Dynasty. They're not talking about the great triple threat, the great match between Megan Bayne and Toni Storm. They are not talking about Kyle Fletcher versus Mark Briscoe, no. They are talking about Swerve Strickland versus Jon Moxley for the AEW World title and the return of the Young Bucks. Spoiler alert if you've not seen it already. But we're going to dive into this in just a little moment. But before we do, please subscribe, please like this video, please comment your thoughts down below and I'll try to apply to every single one of them as we dive into this. So AEW Dynasty. I was pretty excited for Dynasty and I think it's been a pretty good show. It was a pretty good show. The ending, that's all everyone's talking about. They're all just talking about this one match. I think to do that, there's several points I want to make here. The first point, to just focus on the main event, I do think does a disservice to the rest of the show, which I do think the overall show was pretty good. I think it's not the best output AEW's ever put for pay-per-views, but I think it's pretty solid. Chris Jericho Bandido didn't need to be on there. Tag match didn't need to be on there. There's a few matches you could probably, run down on time or just put on Dynamite or Collision. That's the same with most AEW pay-per-views. But I think the ending of the show and the final match being so, I don't even want to say divisive, because I think I'm in the minority here where I didn't hate the ending. I think, how do I phrase this? The best way I can phrase this is, I don't think the ending was bad. The ending was bad. I think the match was bad. I don't think the match was particularly good. I thought it was, I don't know if Jon Moxley has regressed, because he seems to have not understood how to do matches anymore and they don't work. So I think I don't think the ending was bad. I think the match was bad. So what I mean by this is that the ending of the Young Bucks and Swerve Strickland, the Young Bucks, lights go down, they appear, they've got Swerve in the BTE, the EVP trigger, they hit the EVP trigger, Jon Moxley wins, Swerve loses. I don't think that is bad. I think that makes sense, because the Young Bucks, they had beef with Swerve Strickland while he was champ, sort of going into, I think, Blood and Guts, not Anarchy in the Arena. They have had history there. The Young Bucks disappeared. They were burning, shredding all their stuff, shredding all the notes and stuff like that. And they took off. They went to New Japan, won the tag gold, did all that cool stuff, and now they're back. So there is storyline justification there. We just don't know what's going to happen with it yet. I think there was a lot of people speculating that maybe the Death Riders were set upon AEW by the Young Bucks, or the EVPs, the Elite, definitely had something to do with the arrival of Jon Moxley and the Death Riders. So I think that all sort of ties together and does make a relatively cohesive story. Granted, we don't know the end, but I think that being annoyed at the ending, I think people are just annoyed that Swerve lost. I think the reign overall is taken away from the fact that this ending wasn't bad, because I think people just wanted the belt off Mox. Now, I wanted the belt off Mox. I would have been happy for Swerve to win. But I think that is dampening what is a decent ending to an AEW show. And I feel like I'm rambling a lot in this video. I probably am. But to me, the ending of Dynasty was fine. AEW, in terms of ending pay-per-views, has got a pretty good track record. You've got some cool stuff on there. So I think overall, I just don't see the negativity. Maybe it's because I like the Young Bucks a lot, and I like Swerve a lot. I like what they're doing with Swerve and Hangman a lot. Swerve and Hangman versus the Bucks sounds awesome. I didn't necessarily think Swerve was going to win in the first place, so maybe my expectations were different to other people's. But to me, this is not... Like, we've had so many worse endings to pay-per-views, you know, and endings to matches. You know, we've lived through Seth Rollins versus The Fiend at Hell in a Cell. So this is pretty fine. It's pretty fine. And to be honest right now, I think the only thing that's not clicking with me about the Death Riders right now is the matches. I didn't mind. I've kind of gotten used to the Death Riders presentation. I've gotten used to the music. I've gotten used to Moxley's weird promos. It's just that the matches themselves, and particularly in the main event slot, his match with Cope and his match with Swerve, just are not delivering. And I think that is where the issue lies. If this was Pandemic Mox, or if this was Mox who had, like, New Japan Mox, had a bit of edge to him, but he's working the matches really weird and slowly and boring, and then it just devolves into bloodline shenanigans, essentially. I think that's what's taken away from the act. It's the matches. It's when the bell rings. And when you're in a company like AEW, which is so about when the bell rings and you're in main event slots and you are not delivering, I think that is where this is falling down. Fix the matches. I think people would be a lot more invested in this. And I think this ending would not have... If the match was a banger, I think people would have forgiven the ending. I think if this match was amazing, was like unbelievably good, and Swerve lost because the Young Bucks turned up, gave him the EVP trigger, and Mox pinned him, but the match was like 4 stars, 4.5 stars, it would have been not widely received, but it would have been received better. But because his matches are not delivering, Moxley's coming under, he's coming under fire. And rightfully so, you've got to be in that. If you're in that main event spot, you have to deliver in the ring. And frankly, he's not. So, to round out this video, I don't think the ending was bad. I think the match was bad. The ending was perfectly fine. And are we overreacting a little bit? Maybe just a little bit. But I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Were you a fan of the ending? Did you hate it? Did you love it? Let me know and I'll try to apply to every single one of them. Thank you all ever so much for your support. And have a nice day.